What's good, everybody? Welcome into Inside
Sure.
the Green Room with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. Another episode of our show. Again, we're coming to you this season on Wednesdays and on Fridays. And we are also close to the NBA season as we're recording this, only 6 days away. By next week, Danny, you're going to hear you're going to hear all that good stuff. Cannot wait to get into it. We have some season predictions to give you in this here episode. Want to reflect on what everything that's happened with Russell Westbrook now that he is back in the NBA, signed to the Sacramento Kings. We have some predictions as it pertains to some of the best teams in the NBA, and we had some fun with it, compared them to some movie titles that you guys are familiar with. And we won't leave the show, as per usual, without giving you a bet to place as well. So a lot to get into. Let's get right into it. And we'll start with Russell Westbrook, Danny. You talked about it. We talked about it earlier during the off season. I remember at the time you said it was kind of surprising to see that Russell Westbrook opted out of a contract, a player option with the Denver Nuggets, and didn't have a deal. And we're getting close to cut day. We're pretty much at cut day in the NBA. And he's finally on a roster, fitting in, or trying to fit in, with the Sacramento Spurs. What were your thoughts when you saw the deal go down?
The Sacramento Spurs is crazy. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think of them, bro, honestly. I mean, I said I'm happy for us. I'm glad that he's back in the NBA. Deservingly so. There's so many teams out there that said, I wasn't sure if he's going to get with a contender or not. This doesn't seem like I don't know what to think of the Sacramento Kings. They have a bunch of different pieces that are like, again, a lot of people compare him to the Bulls of 2023. So yeah, with DeMar and Zach LaVine, they kind of just reiterate like this had the different iteration of the Bulls. But yeah, Russ is back in the NBA. It's a good thing, man. He deserves to go out when he's ready to go out and not being pushed out and forced out. He's a legend in this game. He's an MVP. Missed a triple-double. He's done so many great things. He had a good year last year, and even the playoffs with Denver. I don't see why it took so long for a team to sign him. But yeah, he's fine. He's got what hopefully is what he wanted, where he wanted to be, and what he wanted to do. So it'll be a good look for him to be able to finish out his career how he wants to finish it.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be a good look for him. It's a good look to be in the National Basketball Association. And Danny, you said you don't know what to think, or you can't really call it with the Sacramento Kings. I'll just keep it real. The roster doesn't make sense. The roster doesn't make sense at all. DeMar DeRozan with Zach LaVine is proven that it doesn't work. It didn't work in the East. What the hell makes you think it's going to work in the Western Conference? Particularly when you add in a guy in Domantas Sabonis, who's a very good player, but not a rim protector. He's not a defensive force, and he's not necessarily a floor spacing big either. So you have a guy like DeMar DeRozan. He's a very good player, but he's not a floor spacing player. How is he going to fit on the court with Russell Westbrook? How do they mesh in Dennis Schroeder? I just don't get it. I'm sorry. Like, I'm happy for Russell Westbrook. Go ahead and collect those dollars as much as you can while you could be in the NBA. But if I'm looking at that roster, it doesn't make sense. The biggest winner in this whole situation, Danny, is Mike Brown. He got fired and up out of there, and it's a great situation for him. Biggest winner here, De'Aaron Fox. He got up out of there because it's an absolute basketball tragedy what happened with the Sacramento Kings. It's a damn shame, Danny, because if you go back to our childhood, remember the Sacramento Kings were seen in a highlight. They were in the Western Conference Finals.
Chris Webber, Mike Vlade, Vlade Divac, Jason Wynn, Mike Bibby. They had iterations of some good groups, man.
And they waited so long. They waited so long to have a competitive team again. And they struck on something, or it seemed like they struck on something when they had De'Aaron Fox and Domantas Sabonis together to light the beam team. Ain't no beams getting lighted in Sacramento no more. I'll tell you that right now. I'll be surprised if that beam gets lit up more than 35 times this year. You can have a great roster. You can have great players. Doesn't mean you have a great roster. And that's exactly what's going on with Sacramento. Again, congratulations, Russell Westbrook. Another year in the association. Kudos to that. But I envision him being very frustrated with his experience with the Sacramento Kings. I envision DeMar DeRozan being very frustrated with his experience with the Sacramento Kings. Same for Zach LaVine. Same for Domantas Sabonis. I thought it was absolutely disgusting, Danny. I'm going off right now because I hate I thought it was absolutely disgusting last year, the way that the Phoenix Suns played. If if you watch the way they played dispirited. They lost. It looked like they lost all hope. The competitive,
like they didn't care. Yeah,
and
just
I
disinterested.
imagine if you had to make a superlative team that's going to tap out before the season's over, the Sacramento Kings have to be on the top of your list. DeMar DeRozan is not dumb. Zach LaVine's not dumb. Domantas Sabonis is not dumb. Russell Westbrook isn't dumb. Deep down in their hearts, I know they know this isn't going to work. And unfortunately, you still got to play these games.
Yeah, it's disappointing, bro, considering where they were like a year or two ago. They were lighting a beam in the could have been the playoffs. They were, fight Golden State games, 7-game series. Like I'm saying, like they went the distance with some heavy round fighters. So like they were in a good space. I thought they were going to get back to that Sacramento Kings team that we said when we growing up watching, being like in the playoffs and actually winning some games. But not only disappointed that they went this route, but like even when they let De'Aaron Fox go, they didn't get enough back in return. Not only did you traded Tyrese Halliburton, you got Sabonis, which is good. It's pretty. I wouldn't say even trade, but it's a trade that worked out for both sides. Then you get rid of De'Aaron Fox. You didn't get anything in return from the San Antonio Spurs. None of the youth or the talent that they had there. They didn't have to give up Castle, Vassell, none of them. So like, what were you doing? You give up a player like that. You didn't get none of the young guys in return. So now you not saying these guys are old, but they're older players now. You got older players and nothing in return of a trade of a franchise player that you had. So yeah, it is disappointing to see where they're at. I imagine that they all will be frustrated. But again, like you said, I'm happy for Russ. He's back in the association. It just, I don't know what to think of this roster. I have to see them on the floor a couple of times before I don't want to count them out fully until I see it work.
Ain't nothing to see. I'll tell you exactly how it's going to go down right now. It's not going to look pretty at all. That's for sure. All right. Speaking of rosters getting adjusted as we get closer to the NBA opening week, we saw a number of players get released recently as rosters come down to an end. And Danny, you're somebody who's played in the league for a while, and you had your fair share of transactions that you were involved in, whether it was being traded or being waived. As you see some of these minor headlines about rosters getting shifted going into opening week, is there a moment in your NBA career that it makes you think of?
There's plenty of moments, bro. I've been cut so many times. I've been traded a couple times. I won't say so many times, but I've been cut a few times and I've been traded a few times. And I remember my first instance where I was sat down in the office with Byron Scott and I forget one of the GM's names in Cleveland at the time. And I was not even in Ohio. We were in Cincinnati. Like we had a game preseason out there, and they brought me in.
Were you at Cintas Center, Fifth Third Arena? Do you remember?
16 years ago, 17. I don't remember.
Was it Xavier University of Cincinnati?
I have no idea, bro. 2010. I just remember we being on the road doing preseason and going different places. And I think we were in Cincinnati, Ohio. I only remember this because I had to find a way back to Cleveland when I was cut there. They brought me into the office, and when you're cut, you just got even back, maybe now they might let you ride, but back then you couldn't ride with the team. Like I went back to the hotel. I had to make arrangements to get back to Cleveland or wherever I was going to train, but get back home and then clear myself out. But they sat me down. Byron Scott's like, you're going to be a great player in this league. I feel like you're going to have a good career. But unfortunately we have to make this decision. And they didn't tell me who, but it was pretty much Manny Harris who was playing well during that preseason. But they decided to let me go. And as a youngin', you kind of don't really know fully until you're at home for a while. So like, yeah, okay, Cleveland, let me go. I'm sure there's other teams will give me opportunity to pick me up. When the phone ain't ringing, bro, or like right away, the teams already had their roster set. It's one of the worst times to be a free agent at that moment. But I said, you try to stay positive. And even in trades, when trades happen, if you don't know that it's happening, you hear from other people, I heard you in this trade. You're like, what the hell? Like to the pit, like your stomach drops a little bit. You know what I'm saying? Like, your heart might drop to your nuts. Like when you're on a roller coaster, you're like, wait, what? I'm going where? I'm traded. What are you talking about? And that's happened even in my last trade when I was in Memphis, because I thought I had a good spot. It was a good team. Like the group, a great young group. And I thought if I was able to play with them, could have brought some veteran leadership there. And they were, top seed team in the West. And we could have, made some noise in the playoffs. So I was a little disappointed. Every time I've been cut, disappointed. I was brought into the office with Pop. He brought me in. And he cut me. And I just got there like for 3 or 4 days. And he was like, well, the only reason why we're letting you go is because we want somebody that knows the system. And they brought in Ime. I was cut for Ime Udoka. He was in my workout. We worked out against each other together. But I had to sit down with Pop, and I think it was more to it than that. They didn't like my sense of urgency. They thought I was too cool, like, trying to be like the New York dude. They didn't like to wear my hat, like, you know what I'm saying? So, like, little small stuff, I'm sure, like, irked them. But ultimately, I think it was the fact that I didn't have the sense of urgency and the professionalism that they wanted me to have coming from Cleveland. So, yeah, plenty of opportunities, plenty of different instances where I was cut, traded, or waived. And it's just a moment of, like, damn, what do I do next? It's like, not you against the world, but this is where your support system really comes in to make you feel like you're valued. You just feel like, I wouldn't say a disappointment, you just feel very much less valued in the space of your profession.
So when Byron Scott brings you into the office and he says, we're cutting you, and he says, you're going to be a great player in the league one day.
He said something along those lines. No,
did you believe him? I mean, you literally just got cut. How could somebody say you're about to be a great player, but you're worth cutting?
He said you're gonna have a good career, and I did not believe him at the time. No, and I'm thinking, if somebody's cutting you, they're gonna kiss your ass. They're gonna say whatever they need to say to put you in good spirits. Like they've just about any time he gets fired, you share some bad news with somebody, right? You bring on the compliments, you bring on the good stuff first, and then you come with the bad news. So I'm thinking he's telling me whatever to blow smoke. And just make me feel better about it, and to try to be cordial and make it a smooth transition of me being like accepting.
So you don't go buck wild. So you don't
exactly.
Go buck wild.
Even though I'm not one of those players, I was not like a vet, like where I had I was a rookie, so it's not like I had the entitlement of any type of minutes or place on a roster. But I think they just want people to feel at ease and be comfortable and accept what's happening in the moment without any type of friction or tension, So I did not believe him in the moment, but I see him to this day, and I've seen him just a month ago at the golf thing. And every time I see him, he shows a lot of love, and he's like, I knew you were going to, be a player in this league, and I told you were going to be a player. So, and maybe he did see something that I didn't see at the moment, but I didn't believe him at the time.
You should ask him next time you see him. Did you really believe that, or were you blowing smoke up my ass? Or were you just trying to make sure I wasn't trying to get all buck wild in the meeting?
Yeah, B. Scott.
You know what I'm saying?
Did you really believe I was going to be a player? Did you? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I'm asking. Next time I see him, I'm definitely going to ask him for sure.
Okay, and then the last thing too, you touched on it, coming back home or getting cut and leaning on your support system. What were some of the lies or the truths that you were telling yourself that maybe somebody had to try to get you off of that thought path? Because and as somebody again who works in entertainment as well, I start to realize that like words and the words that people tell you are super important, because you, especially in a career where like one person sees you and you could be a star and your career set, or nobody can see you and nothing can happen for you. You can have moments where you start telling yourself things that you shouldn't be telling yourself. Do you remember some of those things you were telling yourself at that time?
100%, bro. And I think it just got worse with each day that the phone calls, the phone doesn't ring. You know what I'm saying? I was like, all right, I went to work out in Chicago at Tim Grover's gym. Like I was working out with one of his interns, trying to get, stay in shape and see if I can get some traction there. But so as each day went by, I feel like more and more depression starts to set in, and more doubt, and more, I don't know if I belong here. But, my dad, he's confident in me to so not extreme, but it's to a delusional space where he like thinks, oh, you could be an all-star. You could be, like, he still thinks this day, like I could be this, which I feel like every parent as a kid, that every parent is kind of delusional about you. So yeah, he was the main one, but he would talk to different people and ask, some of my old AAU coaches, even my financial advisor at the time, his name's Ken. And he was like, he's telling my dad, no, Danny, like your son is a very good player. I was thinking about going overseas. Like he can play overseas, but he's not an overseas player. Like he belongs in the NBA. Tell him, because they're like lockouts coming out. You should sign up overseas and build up a resume to get more money when the lockout happens. And he's like, nah, don't do that. I signed with a team. I actually had to get a letter of clearance to get cleared to play in the G League and stay in America, which took like 2 months. But yeah, he stopped me from going over there, and he was right. He was like, yo, overseas will be there. Danny's an NBA player. Trust me. Just tell him to stay in the G League, continue to work, hoop, and he'll get back to where he belongs. So I got to give a lot of credit to my pops and my financial advisor. His name was Ken. I think it was his last name. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank here, but it was so long ago, man. But there were so many things, that words from your friends, your closest friends who might be down you, your family who might be down or pushing you. Those are very important on the path, like your decision making, because each decision is at that time is a big one, like whether you're going to continue this career or not. Because some people may quit. Some people may just say, I give up, or I'm going to go overseas, or I'm going to do this, or I'm just going to another field. If you don't have that right support system and sees you and give you real information, that's why you got to go outside your parents sometimes. You need some real people around you. It'll be hard to make that like that type of a decision without some real intel from like a scout or an agent or somebody else that's played, a coach. So you make sure you use the resources all around you, from college teammates, college coaches. But yeah, all those people played a part and me staying on course.
That's why I frown and I get upset. There's this narrative that players have all these quote unquote hanger-oners, right? Mm-hmm. who leech off of the star player or leech off of, but as you just alluded to, having those people when the situation could be bleak and somebody putting the battery in your back is a difference between you going to the gym and putting up 500 shots or you chilling at the crib watching Netflix eating ice cream. And like people don't see that. And people also, again, I don't think people understand, again, for somebody who works in entertainment, how important support is, because it's not like you know how to, like, if you know how to perform open heart surgery, you gonna get a job. Point blank, period. You know how to play basketball at a high level does not mean you're going to be in the NBA.
Yeah,
you need
it's a lot of who you know. It's a lot of politics. There's a lot of support and sticking with it, man. And you're 100% right. And that's why you can't surround yourself with yes men, because there are a lot of guys who do have people that hang around and leech around and just tell them whatever they want to hear. But they also don't really know the game. They really don't know. They're just telling you you're the greatest thing since sliced bread. You need to find yourself people that are not yes men and will give you the real, you got to get your ass in the gym. You got to do this. You got to get better. If you don't have that around you, and that's why I'm going to say all my friends, but a good amount of my friends, I like to keep the ones that always play devil's advocate or give me the negatives first. And every time I ask them, it may seem negative times. I'm like, I don't want to hear this shit, but I need to hear it. Some of the criticism, because I need that perspective to see what other people might be seeing. And they might be wrong. They might not be 100% right, but at least I'm aware of what might be being said about me. You know what I'm saying? And I can change it or fix it if need be.
Mm-hmm. So I guess for any current player or future basketball players who are listening to this pod, if you got cut or will be cut eventually, get yourself a support system that's going to put the battery in your back so that you can end up having a career maybe similar to what Danny did, where he ended up getting cut once or twice, and all it did was make him a better player and play with that urgency that Greg Popovich was apparently looking to see him exert out there on the basketball court. All right, let's continue to roll with this episode of Inside the Green Room and have a little fun thing for you guys as we look ahead to the beginning of the NBA season. We're going to look at a handful of teams, and we're not just going to do the prediction of how they'll play, like wins and loss record or how far they'll go. We'll just take a team, and because Danny apparently is this movie aficionado,
man.
I call cap on that. I call cap on that. We are going to look at a handful of teams, and we're going to compare them to movie titles that you guys might know. And I am going to elect that we start with the Philadelphia 76ers at first. When you think of the Philadelphia 76ers 25-26 season, Danny, what movie comes to mind?
All right. Now, some of these movies, I'm sure you probably have not watched and never heard of. You probably heard of some of them. You probably heard of some of them. And I took screenshots of the plots to give the people only remember what they want to remember, right? They don't remember all of everything. So for the 76ers, I got Friday Night Lights. Have you ever seen Friday Night Lights? Have you ever watched Friday Night Lights?
You could act as if act as I have an idea of what it is. Go ahead. Why is it like Friday Night Lights?
Have you heard the name Boobie Miles before, correct?
Sure. Just
Okay,
you speak to the don't worry about me. Speak to the audience because you already know how I do
okay.
with big time movies.
Okay, so Booby Miles is played by, I forget the guy's name, black character. He's their star player. He ends up getting hurt early in the season. Not putting this in the air in Philly, but we know that they've had injuries in the past. Ultimately, the team comes together, they get better. They are fighting for a playoff spot. They kind of wave of emotions, but they end up getting a playoff spot and fighting and like getting to the playoffs. Now they don't win, but they build character because the star player is out. So I can see Philly being similar to that type of scenario. So mind you, all these teams that we're going, I don't see them winning. Anything is possible, but I don't see them winning a championship this year. So the movies that I chose are movies that where the team fight, not all of them fight and win, but some of them put up good fights and end up losing in a championship or the playoffs or so on and so forth. So that was the first one.
When I think of the Philadelphia 76ers, I think of Beatrix Kiddo in Kill Bill 1 and 2, played by Uma Thurman. If you remember, Uma Thurman got taken out and they thought she was dead. They thought she was down for the count. Next thing you know, she comes back to life. She was buried. Bruh, Beatrix Kiddo was buried alive. Remember? Buried alive. And she fought through, got through the casket, and next thing you know, went around and took out boss after boss,
smoked everybody. So you think Philly gonna smoke? You think Philly gonna come back and smoke everybody?
We have at this point, we have essentially buried Joel Embiid alive. I cannot believe that some people are acting as if Joel Embiid is not a former MVP and not capable of winning big time games or having big time performances. If Joel Embiid is healthy, and I hate that we always have to give that caveat, but that's the reality with Joel Embiid. If he's healthy and comes back to life, I could see if he was in a playoff series against any star in the NBA, he could take him out. Point blank, period. I still don't think there's a player in the NBA capable of guarding Joel Embiid. There is no player in the NBA that is as unguardable and can also guard his position like Joel Embiid. Now, I am going to be interested to see if he's still able to move at the way that you would like him. Can he switch on a pick and roll? Can he
still block shots, get to the rim?
Can he still block shots at the rim? That's all to be seen. But coming back to life from injury, Joel Embiid, and I think, Danny, here's the other caveat too. Because he didn't come back last year, and I think there was an internal decision among the Philadelphia 76ers to say, you know what? There's no need to force Joel Embiid back when we have a lottery pick that we can get. There's no incentive for a lottery pick now. This is the year where you're like, well, listen, if he dies, he dies. We go play him.
We're going down with the ship, bro.
We're going down with the ship. There's no more waiting for next year. There's no lottery pick that we're rooting to have. No, this is it. And I do think they'll be a little bit wise and make sure that he's ready for the playoffs. And I'm, as a Knicks fan, I'm telling you, there's not whoever has a higher seed in the East, and all of a sudden the Sixers are like the 7 seed. You're punching the air. That's the one team you don't want to see. Now, granted,
especially if they're healthy at that time. Yeah, especially if they're healthy at that time. But
granted,
to give you the full synopsis,
go ahead.
Granted, Joel Embiid, what?
Granted, Joel Embiid has never been healthy in the playoffs before, but
Yeah.
All right. Let's
anyway.
Keep
to
moving?
give you the full synopsis before we close that out, the Friday Night Lights, the whole thing is, to me, I don't have them. He can come back alive, but I don't have him knocking down boss after boss. So that's why I picked Friday Night Lights. Boobie Miles hurt, but despite injuries, doubts, and enormous pressure, the team pushes through the season and earns a spot in the playoffs. That's basically what happens, and they'll get in the playoffs, but I don't know how far they're going. I think second round at best. But yes, they can get. That's what I have. That's why I chose Friday Night Lights. But all right, let's continue.
Let's go to the Los Angeles Lakers. When you think of the Los Angeles Lakers, what do you think of?
Oh man, this one's a classic, and I did mostly sports movies, right? Because I think it goes hand in hand, bro. And I wanted to do classic sport movies. So me, I had Any Given Sunday. I don't know if you remember correctly. There's a lot of different things that kind of could relate to any given Sunday. The starting quarterback, LeBron James, legendary quarterback, gets hurt early in the season. This is how Willie Beeman arrives. Now, Willie Beeman, you can say is Luka, which we already know is Luka, or it could be Austin Reeves. Either way, he starts feeling himself. There is some riffraff between offense and defense when they're playing. They're not a great team. They're kind of going back and forth. I think they're like 7-5 record with 4 games left in the season. So they're still in a hunt for a playoff spot. That's the Lakers. So I could see that. It says Bron's out a lot. They're going to be one of those teams that's kind of close to the 500 and trying to get in the playoff spot, maybe playing or not, depending on how DeAndre Ayton plays, if LeBron plays through most of the season. But they eventually get a playoff spot. They make a little run at the end. It could be that team that gets to Western Conference Finals again if they're hooping, but they ultimately lose, in the playoffs. So like that's what I got for them. That's why I like that.
They are definitely an any given Sunday type of team. If they're right, Luka and LeBron. Come on now, what are we talking about? I picked Creed because it's time for Rocky to train the next star, the next big time face of the sport, and we already know how good Luka is. And in this instance, Adonis Creed is the name of the character. Mm-hmm. Rocky's about to give it up to Creed. And we're about to see Adonis take on a whole new level and be the star of the franchise series. Doesn't mean that obviously Rocky's still great. We still have admiration for him, but he's going to have to go over to a new franchise because at this point, Adonis/Luka will be taken over. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's move a little bit faster here.
Okay.
Let's go to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and I think this one is easier, at least for me. It's Groundhog Day, bro. The same thing over and over and over again. And it does not mean that the Cavs are not going to be a good team. I think they're going to be a very good team. But I do think if you keep on doing the same thing over and over, I think what the cliche phrase is, it's a definition of insanity. I think because Darius Garland got hurt last year, because you didn't get those playoff games from Evan Mobley, I think there's some people who say, well, they should have been healthy. Whereas the other people who are saying it just doesn't work at the highest level. I think the playoff failures, some of the quotes that came out over the past couple of years of their playoff failures, how dejected Donovan Mitchell was last year. The lights are too bright quote from Jared Allen. The fact they missed games, which a lot of people thought that they should have played in the playoffs. Ankle injuries, you not playing a game with an ankle injury? Oh, come on now. A lot of people frowned upon that. And I think that's ultimately something about this team that is going to need to get changed. I don't think they need a total makeover, but they do need something to switch it up. And it's not just the head coach, because Kenny Atkinson did his thing last year as the head coach. It's Groundhog's Day for me. Same thing all over again. Maybe it gets better with the Eastern Conference Finals appearance, but it definitely doesn't turn into an NBA Finals appearance. And if it doesn't turn into an NBA Finals appearance, something's going to get changed, or it needs to, or the same thing will happen all over again. Just like
not bad. I think good analogy. I think they get a little further this year. So I'm going Mighty Ducks 2 and 3. It's a combination of both. I don't know if you remember these movies. I had to go back to refresh my memory of these movies. In Mighty Ducks 2, they recruited some international players. They got a little cocky. They were nice. The first one, they had to put together a team. The second one, they were good. They got cocky. They took some losses and had to get back on track to win a championship. Now in 3, it's the JV versus the varsity team in Mighty Ducks 3. So ultimately, I'm looking at Cleveland as the JV team. They have to prove themselves. The Knicks, to me, is the varsity team. Now, the outcome is they beat the varsity team. I don't know if Cleveland gets this outcome. But I like the storyline of them trying to get them, get on the grind and get back on the Grizzly. 1 and 2 is solid, but they took some lumps. They have to earn their stripes. They're in a new school. I guess some pristine, Catholic school or something like that. But ultimately, they have to prove themselves and earn the respect from the varsity team and the world. But my outcome is not going to be the same outcome as the ending of Mighty Ducks 3, where the JV team beats the varsity team. I think Cleveland will ultimately get to the Eastern Conference Finals, which is different than Groundhog's Day, but ultimately lose to the varsity team.
Yeah, I can understand that. Let's just do one more. Okay. The Spurs and Of course, Victor Wembanyama. I had to think about it, Danny, and I'm not the biggest fan of this series. There's nothing against it, but I had to go with Harry Potter because Victor Wembanyama, he's just scratching the surface of what he could be in the NBA. And I think the whole world, I think they call it Hogwarts. I think everybody's going to be like, oh, damn. The wave is coming. This kid is the future. He holds the future in his hands. And I think it becomes clearly evident that not only Wemby is the future, but the Spurs are the future. And I think that's the one difference this season when it comes to Victor Wembanyama. I think we all saw him when he was playing for the 72 Metropolitans, whatever the French team that was, and we said, this kid could be special. But we never knew if the Spurs could be special. I think with his level of play and the players they have around him, the whole franchise series, remember, Harry Potter was doing all type of numbers in the box offices. That's exactly
what You're a wizard, Wemby. You're a wizard, Wemby. Solid. I mean, good. I said I like that one too. But for me, I want to do both the last two teams. For the Spurs, I got Coach Carter. And not the fact that they need discipline, but they're young. It's a young group of team trying to figure it out, a bunch of obstacles. And ultimately is because I compare Wemby and his matchup to Ty Crane, which is like Jokic. There's only one Ty Crane. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're going to get better. They're going to win some games. But ultimately, when they match up with a team like that, with a Jokic in the playoffs, I think Ty Crane is going to end up getting the bucket game. He gets the game winner against them, and they end up going home and losing. So they have a great season, but they end up losing. And the team gets better. Everybody around the team, they have some ups and downs. Young kids trying to figure out who they are, where they are. And said Mitch, the new coach, has only been there a couple of years. Pop obviously was a disciplinary, but him trying to get them in order, trying to discipline them, understand this young group, what the bigger picture is in life and how to do things the right way is kind of the storyline for me. But ultimately, when they see Ty Crane, there's only one Ty Crane out there, and they're going to lose in the playoffs or wherever it is. If they match up with a team like that, whether it's OKC or whether it's Denver, they're going to end up losing that game.
All right, bet. All right, let's continue both. I didn't do one for the Grizzlies, but you got one.
I did one. I got one for the Grizzlies. Tin Cup, bro. And I'm going to give you a brief, this to give you, and I'm not talking about any individually, but as a group. I don't know if you know Tin Cup. Have you ever seen it? It's a golf movie.
Go ahead, give me this. Give it to
Roy McIlroy is played by Kevin Costner. He's talented as hell. He can do anything. He can hit any ball anywhere. He just doesn't play it safe. He doesn't play it smart. He's not disciplined. So what they're saying is he clashes with sponsors, blows chances, and alienates allies. His reckless style and refusal to play it safe and gets in his own way is why he loses. The movie ends, he could beat his arch nemesis, who he's better than. But because he doesn't have the mind and the discipline to stay on course and the patience, he just keeps hitting this ball for a hole in one. He gets the hole in one, it's a love story, it's a romance too. So he wins back his old the love interest in the movie. So he wins her over his arch nemesis, but ultimately he loses the tournament. And that to me is Memphis. They're very talented, but they just got to find some discipline. The new coach, he has to find a way to discipline them. They're going to find ways to get in their own way, and they just ultimately not going to be what they were 2-3 years ago.
Well, I think it's interesting, Danny. I want to say I have more about this player coming up, but they sorely missed Dylan Brooks and Steven Jackson and Steven Adams. And I know a lot of people probably thought, Dylan Brooks not being there is a good thing. Well, sorry. It turns out that it really wasn't, because he brought an intensity that it seems like they have been missing. I will say for this year, 1, you need Ja to be healthy. 2, if Jaren Jackson Jr. does not get better with these fouls, come on, like, you're just way too talented to spend.
You need Zach Edey to get really good too. And now, so Desmond Bane's gone. You need KCP and Zach Edey. Those guys have to be very good for you. So, yeah.
All right. I hope you guys enjoyed that. When we come back with more Inside the Green Room, of course, we have to lay a bet for this upcoming season, and we'll do our top 5 NBA title contenders. We'll be right back right here on Inside the Green Room. What's good? We're back with more Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. I'm Harrison Sanford. Do us a favor, please. Make sure you find us on all things social, Inside the Green Room, on Instagram, Green Room Inside on X, also on TikTok.
Sure.
We're all over the place. Make sure you find some of our content, because some of the content that we discuss on the show will be posted there, as well as exclusive content to our social media handles, particularly betting angles that we will have throughout the course of the year. And before the show ends, Danny's going to give us his top 5 NBA contenders, and I'll be providing the FanDuel odds for them. Again, this is Inside the Green Room, presented by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Now it's time to get closer into the life of one Danny Green. As a man who now has 2 children, I think you are well aware of the stages of life for us humans. And what we wanted to do is kind of compare them to the stages of life for teams around the NBA. This is our unique way to preview the NBA season. So, stage of life, Danny, Milwaukee Bucks.
Let's do it. I'm going to run through these fairly quickly, because I don't think they get into it that deep. But for the Milwaukee Bucks, I've never had one of these before, but I can imagine it's kind of wild and a frenzy. And I don't know what they got going on, but to me, I think they're in a midlife crisis stage. Like, they're trying to figure out whether they're going to be young, when they're going to be old. Like, they accept what they are. They're trying to figure out how to keep Giannis. This coaching staff, who they're paying, they're just in a frenzy, bro. So I'm just going to put them in the midlife crisis stage. And I don't know if Giannis ends the season in Milwaukee. A lot of people are betting he's not. Talking about trades to the Knicks, we're seeing what teams have good trade value and pieces and where he should go. So Milwaukee's in shambles right now. For the next team,
the Milwaukee Bucks, getting Miles Turner and still deciding to getting for the Milwaukee Bucks. Let me run that back. For the Milwaukee Bucks to basically still have Damian Lillard on their books, right? And then get Miles Turner is like a 50-year-old man who has a house, wife, kids, has it all, just like, yo, let me go get this new BMW. It's like, yo, there's no need to do this. You have, if you're walking out of a marriage, right, Danny? If you're walking out of a marriage, you're not about to go buy a new luxury car, right? That's the last thing you should be. If a man and his wife, or a wife and his husband about to call it quits, the last thing you want to go do is purchase a house. Wait until the papers are finalized before you start doing something crazy like that. That's when I saw that move, I'm like, did y'all get confirmation? Crisis. Did y'all, exactly, a midlife crisis. Did y'all get confirmation that Giannis even wants to stick around? You want to keep the beauty, you want to keep the bride, but the bride don't care what you bring in the house no more. It's over. Like, I don't get it.
It's a wrap, bro.
I don't get it. It's
trying to save the marriage with a bunch of material items. Knock it off. All right.
All right, let's go to the Toronto Raptors.
They're in college right now, bro. They're trying to find themselves. They're trying to find out who they are, what they want to major in. We don't know. They have a lot of great talent, a lot of good pieces, right? Guys that are similar to each other. We don't know how they're going to fit well just yet. We haven't seen enough of them playing, but they do have some good pieces. There's so many avenues they can go to major in life. But I think they're trying to become adults and find themselves. They're in the stage of being older teens, young adults, and trying to become a man. So for them, we got to see how they stack up together with that group. But ultimately, I put them in the college phase where they're just having fun, young, but at the same time trying to figure out what they want to be in life and what kind of adulthood they want.
And it feels like maybe they're all in college. They all are kind of like haven't declared their major yet. Like, we don't really know what RJ Barrett is. We don't really know what Scotty Barnes is. We don't really know, frankly, who Brandon Ingram is. And it's not even like they're in college and they're all in the same fraternity, Danny. It feels like, I don't know how familiar our audience is with, the black fraternities, but like some are Kappas, some are Alphas, some are Q dogs. Yeah, they all, like, these guys all don't fit with each other. Like, it's not even like you can say, oh, they're all Alphas or they're all Qs or they're all Kappas or whatever they might be, so they could move in unison. This seems like a disjointed team of talented young men, but they do seem disjointed. All right, let's go. Circle of life. Knicks.
They're in Now they have only been together for a couple of years, but this is the analogy. They're in the 10-year relationship phase with the city and the fans, and it's make or break time. Are we getting married or what? They need to make something happen quick and do a grand proposal. Because if not, she's leaving, bro. She's not sticking around. There's a time and moments where they're either gonna propose or you had a standstill or she's out the door. She's waited long enough. If she's dated you for 10, 12 years and you have not even thought about proposing, you're in a bad situation, my friend. So I compare the Knicks in a long-term engagement. They're engaged for a long time and no plans of making a wedding. There's no wedding plans in sight.
I think that's more like the Cavaliers, bro. I think the Knicks. I would say this. They're like the Knicks fans are still in a honeymoon phase. Here we go. Oh, my bad. The Knicks we're past the infatuation phase of dating. The first 3 months, it's all lovey and dovey. You just want to do everything with each other. And now we find out, is this team for real?
Okay.
Like, was it just fun?
2 or 3 years and you move in. You finally move in together.
We're moving in now. We're moving in
together. And now what are we right now?
Are we
gonna make a break? Are we gonna last? Are we for real? So yeah, that's good. Maybe about I still think they haven't had a championship in so long, and now
but it's not about the other Knicks teams. It's about this Knicks team. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
All right, let's keep moving. All right,
I understand it's only been 2-3 years, but we're waiting for a ring, and y'all got 2 years to get this damn proposal done. If you don't, ain't gonna be no wedding. Ain't gonna be no wedding. Indiana Pacers, they're the young adult in the dating phase. They're trying to figure out what they. It's kind of similar to the College of Toronto. They're trying to bounce back. Obviously, some injuries.
They're out of college, though. They're out of college. We know who they are.
They have a solid job. You know what I'm saying? They know who they are. They're just trying to find that match that can make them their home a household. You know what I'm saying? Who can I settle down and have kids with? Who can I, long-term relationship with? They have everything else in place. They have the job. They're in shape. They're fit. Have a good single lifestyle.
Careers in line.
Careers in line. Now they're just looking for a mate or a partner that they can, solidify their lifestyle, their household with. So yeah, they're in the dating phase trying to figure out, who do we want to go marry rich? Do we want to marry somebody that has a great job? Do we want somebody just to stay home and take care of the kids? Or, obviously, ultimately, it's just really who is compatible with me that I can be and share a space with, for a long-term deal. How do we stay in this phase of life of they're living their best life right now as an individual, like a single man. How do I still live my best life finding a significant other?
I would say for Pacers fans, it almost feels like you're about to be emotionally unavailable, at least for a year. You know what I'm saying? No Tyrese Halliburton, Miles Turner is gone. They gotta shut down emotions for a year.
There might be could say this might be a breakup year. It might be a breakup after like a good 2-year relationship.
Maybe not a breakup, but a break.
Pause.
Let's go vacation for a year. Take a
she went abroad to study abroad. She went to study abroad somewhere. So y'all got a little break.
Y'all, you might get right eventually, but just take some time off, shut it down emotionally, and see where you at a year from now. Mm-hmm. I think that's a good one. All right, last one. The Denver Nuggets. What you got?
Denver Nuggets already married, man. They're just trying to find that spark again, bro. That's all it is. They married. They went the honeymoon phase. They got the ring. Everything was lovely. Everything was great. Now life is just kind of getting stagnant and redundant. They're trying to say, you know what? We need to mix it up. We need to get back on some dates, try some experiment. We need to find that spark again to get us back to the happiness that we had the night of our wedding. So that's what I got Denver is, man. So Denver's the married couple that's just trying to find the spark again.
Yeah, I like that one. I don't even have anything to add to that. I think that was a very good one, my friend. I thoroughly enjoyed that. All right, before we get out of here, we don't leave any episode without doing a top 5. So here we go. We are going to do a top 5 of NBA contenders, and Danny is in charge of it this time. So Danny, start from 5 going all the way up to number 1, and I'll provide the odds courtesy of FanDuel after you say each team.
At number 5, which is a team that I'm only banking on them and they have better odds to win more money, if they get healthy and stay healthy, and this all relies on 2 guys, mainly one guy. If AD gets it right, man, and stays right, we know what Kyrie can do when he comes back healthy. I got the Dallas Mavericks at number 5. With the front court that they have, with all those bigs and the talent that they have, they should be one of the best defensive teams in the league, which ultimately we know defense wins championships. So I got the Dallas Mavericks at number 5. H, tell them what their prop bet is.
I mean, that's a big one. According to FanDuel Sportsbook, that is 35-1. And I understand how good the defense can be. I think, Danny, you're familiar with the coaching staff there. Obviously, Jason Kidd is there. Frank Vogel is there. Phil Handy is there. These are the same coaches that were coaching the Los Angeles Lakers that won in the bubble, the team that you were on. And we've talked about how good that defense was. I have no doubt the defense can be stand out. But I'm just worried about the offense, Danny. I know Cooper Flagg is giving a lot of people reasons for optimism. I still don't know if he's truly going to be good enough to be a primary ball handler / playmaker / point guard. I don't know about it yet. He has to show and prove. Can Klay Thompson stay healthy? Is D'Angelo Russell going to actually stay locked in? And on top of that, will Anthony Davis actually be around enough to actually make an impact on the game in terms of how many games he's going to be able to play? Will there be enough floor spacing? Everybody is clamoring about, this front court is going to be so big. Flagg with PJ Washington and Derek Lively and Anthony Davis. Who's going to shoot the ball? Where's the floor spacing? You could champion the defense all you want. I'm worried about the offense. How are they going to score when the court is all crunched up?
I like Najee Marshall.
Not my top 5 is your top 5, but
my list is my list. I like Najee Marshall, who's stepped his game up quite a bit. Kyrie can score in bunches. Klay can shoot that thing. D'Angelo Russell is very capable of shooting that thing. Cooper Flagg's going to take some time, but this is an experiment that Jason Kidd has done before, and we've seen how Giannis turned out. I'm not saying he'll be Giannis, but this is a way to groom him along faster, I think, than if he were to do a different role. But those guys, with Kyrie coming back, I think is a very good team. At number 4, I'm going with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Again, you spoke about them. We talked about them in movie fashion. We talked about them in phases, all types of stuff. You said Groundhog Dog. Yeah, same thing over and over. I said Mighty Ducks 3. They're the JV team. They have to prove themselves to the varsity team that they can be taken serious. And do they have the pieces? Yes. They just have to show the maturity of not only just doing it in the regular season, but doing it in the playoffs. Kenny Atkinson, great addition as a coaching staff. I think they all learn from the past year, but I have them at number 4.
Yeah, I think the way that they were talked about at the end of the season, if that doesn't light a fire under them, nothing else will. Plus 650 according to FanDuel Sportsbook. Who you got for number 3?
Number 3, the New York Knickerbockers. This is their year, bro. This is the pressure on them. We're waiting for that proposal because we need a wedding. The New York fans have been dying of starving of a championship or winning. Winning season last year was great, but a championship they have not seen in a long time, bro. So the Knicks, I got them at number 3. There's nobody else in the East really to contest them except the Cleveland Cavaliers. That's why I have them above the Cavs. But ultimately, I think the championship goes back to the West, and that you'll see my number 1 and number 2. Number 2, sure. I got the Denver Nuggets at number 2. Talk about your Knickerbockers.
Let me provide the odds at least. They're 12-1 right now, which is crazy to me that they would have such what? I cannot believe they're actually 12-1 and Cavs are plus 650. I think the Knicks are going to be a vastly improved offensive team. We'll see how good they are defensively. I think towards the end of the season, and it was exposed in the playoffs, Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns in the pick and roll coverage. Now you will potentially have a full season of Mitch Robinson. How does that work? Can Mitch Robinson do some dribble handoff offense? Or is he going to be, or him being out there, is that going to stagnate the offense? Because you need him defensively, that's for sure. I think he's a huge piece to what the Knicks do this year. But to your point, Danny, it has to be the Knicks. The Knicks and the Cavs have to be in everybody's top 5 because they're clearly the class of the Eastern Conference. One of those teams should be in the finals. And if one of those teams is going to be in the finals, then you have to put them in your top 5. All right, number 2.
Yeah. But I will say this before we move on to number 2. That might have changed for the Knicks when Malcolm Brogdon retired. So those odds may have changed. They lost some depth.
Nah, not that much, man. Not that much.
He was a good backup point guard for them. Maybe not crazy amount, but they probably changed a little bit. Now, can they pick up another point guard that could fill that void? Spencer Dinwiddie is available. He was just waived by the Charlotte Hornets. But he's a solid veteran point guard that can set a table for you if he comes off the bench. He could be decent for you. He's a good threat to have, if you're asking me, my opinion. Anyway, number 2, the Denver Nuggets. That married couple that is looking for the spark, I think they found the spark this year. When they brought in Cam Johnson, Tim Hardaway Jr., Christian Brown looking unbelievable this year, bringing back Bruce Brown, and Jonas Valanciunas, surrounding that with one of the best players in the world, Nikola Jokic. You're looking pretty damn good to me. And Jamal Murray, if he gets back to it, now that the floor is so much open for him to do what he does, Jamal Murray turned into Stephon in the playoffs. He's no longer Steve Urkel. We're looking at the Denver Nuggets finding that spark this year. And out of respect, you got to give it to the Oklahoma City Thunder at number 1. Give the odds for the Denver Nuggets before we move to number 1 to Oklahoma City Thunder.
Plus 850 on the Denver Nuggets. I forget just how good their offseason is. I think we spend so much time looking at the big offseason acquisitions. We don't realize just how good like a good solid player just might be to a team like the Denver Nuggets. And I said it not too long ago. I'll say it again. What Aaron Gordon became last year. He wasn't just hitting threes, Danny. He was confidently pulling up threes, like
on transition,
like threes that you would be like, "Yo, what are you doing?" And
you think you Clay?
Like,
yeah. And he's a defender. He's unbelievable. He played out there with a hamstring strain. Like he tough as nails, bro. Knocking down a three. They're going to be great. I didn't even mention him, which is crazy, but they're going to be unbelievable, man. So yeah, I got the Denver Nuggets at 2. And the only reason why I said you got to give respect to the champions. They have everybody back. They're still young. They'll probably stay the most health. They're probably one of the most healthiest teams or stay healthy throughout the years because they're so young. Oklahoma City Thunder, which I think plus 195, right? Makes sense. They're very good. They've figured out how to do it. They know what it takes. They've been there. The only thing holding them back is fatigue. If they get tired because they were there, back-to-back years and going that long of a stretch, they are young. Hopefully no injuries. So the only 2 things that can hold them back is injuries and mental fatigue to be locked in. But them being mature, they have everything that they need to be the dynasties that we talked about in our last episodes.
I'll be curious to see if how referees officiated Thunder games
will change
this year. Not just how Shai Gilgeous-Alexander was able to get to the free throw line, but also will they be allowed to play such aggressive defense and not have to worry about foul
because all the complaints.
Because all the complaints, you go in the NFL, there's a lot of people who complain about the tush push from the Philadelphia Eagles, and a lot of people say, "Well, you got to stop it." Well, there's going to be a lot of owners, a lot of people in the competition committee who are just going to say, "Yo, no, we understand that it's we just don't want to see it anymore. We're banning the tush push." And I would not be surprised if there's a growing contingent in the competition committee that just say, "Yo, we can't allow any team to play defense as handsy as the Thunder are because it doesn't translate to high scoring offenses and free flowing basketball. And we want free flowing basketball for the sake and the good of the game." I don't think it happens this year per se, but I would be curious to see if it becomes a point of emphasis, if all the handsiness that the Thunder get away with is allowed to happen in this upcoming season. And if it isn't, then the door might be a little bit more open for other teams to come in. That's my last thoughts on the Thunder.
Playoffs are the playoffs. They're going to let them do that. Maybe regular season, they won't be able, but the playoffs, they're going to let some physicality go. So I don't see it changing much. But yes, the Oklahoma City Thunder, my number 1 and the top 5 contenders.
That makes a lot of sense. Let's do it a quick wrap real quick. Number 5, Dallas Mavericks. Number 4, Cleveland Cavaliers. Number 3, New York Knicks. Number 2, Denver Nuggets. And at number 1, the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's another episode of Inside the Green Room with Danny Green. Danny, tell them what to do, please.
You know what to do. Read, rate, subscribe, review. Peace.
Peace.